Hello and welcome to Anna's Art Club. I'm Anna and I run a sticker and stationery store on Etsy, and I truly believe that absolutely everyone can draw and that creativity is the secret to a happy life. And with that being said, these tutorials are designed for all ages, so whether you're 8 or 80, hit that subscribe button and let's do some drawing. Hello, welcome back to another drawing video. Today we're going to be drawing a robot. So first of all, I'm going to be using an iPad Pro and the app Procreate, as well as my Apple Pencil. But you are more than welcome to carry on with the tutorial with a plain piece of A4 paper, pencils, colouring pens, colouring pencils, paint, whatever it is that you want to draw with today. If you don't feel like drawing today and you actually prefer the colouring part of creating and arts and crafts, you can head to my website using the link below this video to download a printable version of this drawing, and you can colour along with me when we get to the colouring stage. I will also timestamp the colouring section in the description below, and you can start from there and skip the drawing part. But anyway, let's get on with it. And as usual in Procreate, I'm not going to be using any of the extra brushes or tools that I have purchased. I'm only going to be using the tools that come with Procreate, just in case you don't have them. And you do not need any brushes specifically to use Procreate and use it well. A lot of the brushes that you can buy are very, very good, but they are to improve on your art and your drawing. They aren't necessity to actually be good at using Procreate, if that makes any sense. So if you don't have any of those brushes that you see online, don't worry, Procreate is just as amazing without them. Anyway, so first of all, I'm going to start with the 6B pencil, which is actually my very favourite brush. It looks just like a normal pencil, if that's what you've got. If you are using normal pencil, you will need to draw, sketch, I should say, a lot lighter than what I will be doing, because you are going to need to rub your lines out that you don't want, but also colour over some of your lines and you don't want them to show through. So that's just a little tip there if you are using traditional methods of drawing rather than the iPad, I suppose, yeah. So anyway, first of all, I'm going to draw a straight line here, and this is going to be how tall your robot is. He can be as big and small or small as you like. Even though you're following along with me, this can be whatever kind of robot you like. You don't have to follow me exactly. It is your drawing at the end of the day, and this isn't school. This is designed to be fun. So this is the height of your robot, and then I'm going to do another line across right in the middle. Doesn't have to be perfect, and these lines are going to be rubbed out, so like I said, keep them light if you are using pencil. So right in the center, that is where his body's going to be, and I'm going to add, in fact no, I'm going to make that a bit smaller. If you didn't already know, to undo on Procreate you just need to tap the screen with 2 fingers and it will get rid of whatever you've just done. Okay, so there's my little box for his body. Inside that box, I'm going to add another box, just so there's a small frame going around it. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, so there it is. It kind of looks a bit like a TV or a photo frame at the moment, but let's carry on. So on top of that, I am going to add a smaller rectangle, and this is going to be his head. You might notice on my screen that my pencil keeps wanting to do this, just because I'm using the pencil at a slight angle more than I normally would, because I'm trying to stay out of the video basically. But yeah, that's one of the best parts of Procreate, is that it will mimic a real pencil depending on the position of your Apple Pencil. Anyway, so there's the smaller box, rectangle, sorry, for his head, and then I've done another one inside it just like we did for the body, and then I've connected the two here with 2 lines to form almost like a tube for where his body and his head are going to connect. And I'm going to finish that off with a curved line, like a semicircle, so it just looks more cylindrical with that line and looks like it's actually going into the body. Okay, so for his legs, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add 2 tube shapes. Okay, and like I said, these can be as long as or as short as you like. Your robot can be whatever size you want him to be. On top of those, I'm going to add 2 semicircles for his feet. We are keeping this drawing nice and simple. Okay, and then on the bottom of those, I'm going to add some skinny rectangles to form the platforms of his feet. Okay, and then at the top here, I'm just going to add 2 more skinny rectangles, just to show some way of his legs connecting to his body, if that makes sense. Just makes the drawing a bit more interesting, doesn't it? So I'm going to do the same over here for his arms. This is where his arms are going to connect to his body. Ooh. Okay, and then for his arms, we're going to do some really, really long arms here. And they are going to be like tubes coming down towards his feet. But you want to leave those open-ended, again, like we did with the legs, so that we can add the hands on in a moment. So we're going to follow those around like that. Okay. And then at the bottom here, I'm going to add his hands, and his hands I'm going to make look similar to some sort of spanner. I don't know if it's a spanner or a wrench, I could be wrong, but we're going to form almost like a complete circle here, and then we're going to go into the circle to create sort of a rectangle, and then we're going to bring those lines to a point like this. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. Go down and then to a point. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did to the feet and add not a platform but like a little sausage here going around the bottom of the hands, just to show some sort of connection to the arms. And again, just for a bit more detail. Okay, and to the arms I am going to add some lines here to make it look like it's rounded, if that makes sense. And also to the legs. There we go. Alright, and then I'm also going to add a couple that can fit on here to the neck. And for his neck, we're also going to give him a little collar here where his neck enters into his body. So that's like a little sausage wrapping around it, if that's a better way of imagining what that looks like. Okay, so it's curved lines around the back almost of the neck and then coming round the front. And then for his ears, I'm going to start with 2 platforms on the sides of his head, and then we're going to do 2 semicircles. Okay, and like I said, this part doesn't need to be nice and clean. This sketch can be as rough as you like, and we will tidy it up when we're done. Okay, so now I'm going to add a couple of platforms to his head to form the base of his, I suppose, antenna or aerial, whatever you wanted to call it. But obviously you can add whatever you like to the top of his head. Maybe he's wearing a top hat. Entirely up to you. Okay, I'm going to do one there and one there. Right, so next we're going to give him a little face. So I'm going to start with 2 big eyes here, one either side, and then some nice big pupils on the inside, and don't forget to give him some eyebrows. And for his mouth, I'm just going to give him a nice big semicircle in the middle there. And I'm going to add a line through that to make it look like he almost has some teeth. Okay. And then for his body, you could do whatever you like here as well. We're just going to add some buttons, maybe a little vent. I'm going to add a little fuel gauge down here so that he knows when he's running out of power. Okay. And maybe some buttons up here and up here. And then down here, I'm going to do a box, rectangle, I suppose. And in there, I'm going to do something that looks almost like a vent. Stop our robot from getting too hot. Some lines and some more buttons on it. And then another button here that's almost like a switch. Makes sense. And then I'm going to do a big button here. That could be his on off button, I suppose. And then I'm just going to fill in these gaps with some more buttons. There we go. And that is our robot. So next we are going to be colouring him in. I am just going to move him down a little bit. If you want to select your drawing, draw around it. After choosing the select tool, grab the arrow and then just move him down a bit. That's one way of doing it anyway. If you have him on a separate layer to your background, you could just grab the layer, grab the arrow and drag him about. And if you have snap turned on, Procreate will put him in the middle for you. Okay, so at this stage, if you wanted to, whether you're using Pencil or Procreate, you can go back in and refine your sketch more if you wanted to. That's what I normally do with more complicated drawings. So in that situation, I would normally lower my opacity a bit, and then I would create a new layer and I would do another sketch on top of that just to make sure it's 100% what I want it to be. I've already made this video quite a few times now, so I am happy with the robot. I'm well practiced in drawing him now. But like I said, if you wanted to go ahead and finish off your sketch or even have another go if you're not happy with it, feel free to pause the video and go and do that. You can still do that if you're using coloured pencil. If you have started with a nice light sketch, you can now go back in, rub out the bits that you don't want, and go back in slightly darker with the bits that you do want, okay? I'm not going to be doing that because I'm happy with how my robot looks. I also don't need to rub bits out that I don't need on here, just because I can use another layer on Procreate. So I am going to be doing that, and I am going to make him lighter. On this layer, I won't be doing another sketch, but I am going to now go in and do his outline. If you are using pencil, you will have to do the outlining at the end. So with pencil, you're going to do your sketch, you're going to colour it in, and then you're going to outline it after. On Procreate, we can do things a bit differently. We can do the outlining and then use that to put the colour underneath it and keep it nice and neat. Either way doesn't matter, it's just a different way of working depending on what materials you're using. So I'm going to go in now and I'm going to do my outline. I'm going to choose a nice black. And I'm going to go to calligraphy and I'm going to be using the monoline brush. And this is a really good brush for outlining if you're doing basic, cartoony, almost clip art style artwork. Because the line is basically the same width. all the way along. It doesn't change depending on what pressure you put down, as opposed to other brushes like the brush pen. Starts off thin, and if you push down it will get fatter. We don't want that with this drawing. We want a nice simple line that you would normally get, say, from a felt tip pen. So what sort of thickness do we want? I think that's going to be okay, but again, this is entirely up to you how thick you want your outline to be. I'm going to go with size 18 for mine. Okay, so I'm just going to start and go really slowly when you do this bit, because the outline is basically your final sketch and you want it to be right before you colour it in. And on Procreate you can grab your picture and spin it around if you need to, just so that you can get these lines nice and straight. If you want your lines to be perfectly straight and you're new to Procreate, all you need to do is put your pen down, drag it, stay there for a minute, and it will straighten the line for you. I prefer my lines to look a little bit hand-drawn, so I don't tend to use that very often, but again, this is your drawing and you are welcome to do it however you like. If you end up going over and you have some little notchy bits like this, just grab your eraser, choose the same brush, calligraphy monoline, and just go back in and clean that up. So I'm going to do his face now. And now his eyes, and you can do the same thing in this situation. If you draw the circle and stay there, it will make it into a perfect version of the shape that you've drawn. It won't necessarily be a perfect circle unless you hold down, and then it will turn it into a perfect circle for you. Which is always nice when you're doing things like eyes and you want them to be nice and round. There's his mouth. I am doing this a lot quicker than I normally would, so feel free to take your time and pause the video if you need to. So I'm basically just going to go around our whole sketch and turning it into black lines. You don't feel like you need to get the line in one go. Feel free to undo it, try again until you get that line the way that you want it. Now is also a good time to change anything that you don't like about your sketch, if you want to. I want to make my antenna a bit longer on that side. There we go. No, that's not right. Okay, so do his neck. So that's our robot outline done. At this stage, if you wanted to go back in and add some details, you could. I might add some little screws here to the corners of his body and to his head. Here he's been put together. Yeah. And next, we're going to colour him in. So if you've got your printout colouring page, this is the part where you join in. If you are colouring in with pencil, this would be the part that you need to skip to, but I will timestamp everything below. So I'm going to take away my sketch layer now. If you're on Procreate, I have made another layer below my outline because we're going to be colouring underneath it. And I'm not sure what I'm going to use to colour him in actually. I think I may just stick to my monoline brush because we don't have a lot of space to colour in, if that makes sense. Like there's no big areas for us to colour in. But also we're going to be doing a very basic kind of block style colouring, if that makes sense. But I'm going to start off with a grey, I think. So I don't have a colour palette made up. I definitely should have done that, but you're just going to need a fairly pale grey colour, like this. This is the sort of colour I've got for him. And I'm going to be using that for the frame around his body here. Might be a little bit, oh, don't know where those spots have come from. That might be a bit too dark actually. Make it a bit lighter. Yeah, that's a good colour. So I'm going to use this light grey for the frame around his body. I'm also going to use it on the frame around his head. And if you wanted to colour it in a bit quicker, you can just draw a line around a section and then drop the colour in if you prefer doing it that way. That can be helpful for larger parts, but these little parts, I don't mind colouring them in. Okay, so the light grey I'm also going to be using for his ears. Just the domed part, not the platform. So colour those in. Don't know why my brush is doing that. And I'm also going to use it on his hands. And I'm going to fill that, drop it in there. Same with his other hand. Just outline it, drop it in. Okay, and then his feet. Again, just the domed part. Right, so the next colour I'm going to be going in with, I'm going to go in with a slightly darker grey. I promise it does get a bit more interesting. But Right, I am going to go in now with a slightly darker grey. You can go in whatever colour you like on your robot, obviously, but that's the colour I'm going to be using. Just a slightly darker colour than what we used. And I'm going to use that on the arms. Okay. So next we're going to make that grey even darker. And this is going to be the darkest grey that we use, and we're just going to use that on these little bits here where his arms connect to his body. And where his legs connect to his body. Drop that in there. And also where his ears connect to his body. And his neck. Oh. Okay. I think that's all the boring grey done anyway. So next we're going to go in with a blue, and I'm going to be using this light blue here. Ooh, that is not light blue. That is. There we go. If you want to use the same colour palette as me, I will add that to my website as well at the link below, and you can add that to Procreate and use the same one if you wish to. I am also going to use this blue on the entire face, so we can just outline the face and drop that in. We are going to go back in and do his eyes, don't worry. Oh, my neck is no longer coloured in. Sort that out in a moment. There we go. Right, now I want that dark grey again, so I've just held down my finger on over it, and that will choose that colour, and then I can drop that back in. So I've got a bit here missing. Okay, so that's all the light blue. And now I'm going to choose this slightly darker blue here. And with that, I am going to draw a line all around the edge of this face. And next, I am going to make his eyes white. Okay, and I'm going to colour in his pupils black. I am now going to add a little white circle to both of his eyes. This gives the impression that your character's eyes are shiny and reflecting light, and it makes your characters look a lot more alive. I'm going to choose this much darker blue here, and I'm going to use that to fill in the mouth. Okay. And then I'm going to go back in with that darker blue, and I'm going to use that for this dome here. There we go. And I'm also going to colour in these little antennae here, and for that I'm going to use this yellow and this dark orange. Okay. Okay, next we're going to move on to his body. And again, I mean, you can colour the buttons in however you wish. I'm going to start by colouring in this fuel gauge in white. And then I'm just going to choose some colours. I'm going to go back in with this dark grey for this vent panel here. And then for the vent itself, I'm going to choose the darkest blue that we had. Fill that in. Okay. And then it's just a case of figuring out what colour you want your buttons. So I think I'm going to do this one in yellow. This one in red. I'm going to do this one, this side of this one white, and then the other side orange. And then maybe a green one over here with another yellow one. And I'm going to do a big blue one. And same again on this side. I'm going to make half of this button white and then the other half red this time. And I'm going to go back into that blue button with some dark blue in the centre. Fill in the buttons there. I'm going to have an orange one, I think. And a light blue one. Okay, now we've coloured the buttons. I'm going to do the same thing again that we did to the head and go around the outside of this with that medium blue colour. Okay, and then we're going to start adding some shading and highlights to the rest of the body. So we're going to start with the arms, and we're going to choose this dark grey that we chose on here, and we're just going to add a line of that to the outside of the arms here. There we go. And we're going to take that also down the side of where it joins in, and also underneath the cuff of the hand, like this. On the other side, we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to do that line on the inside of the arm. We're still going to go up the side of the join and behind the cuff of the hand. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing to the legs on the left hand side here and underneath here, and then on the left hand side here and underneath here. Okay, and then we're also going to take that down to the boots, but we're going to use this medium grey on the boots instead. And we're going to go down here and just down the side of these boots here. Okay, and then with that medium grey, you're going to do the same thing on the hands. So from the centre round that left hand side. If my brush will behave itself. And same again on this side. Round the bottom. That's it. Oh no, sorry, my fault. We were doing the left hand side, weren't we? So it's the left hand side on this one. Okay, so now we're going to take, oh, I've just switched to full screen, and we're going to take that medium blue and we're going to go around the left hand side of that cuff that we made, and the left hand side on here too, and the shoe. We're going to go down the left hand side and across the bottom. Okay, now we need a darker version of this grey so that we can shade on top of it. So we're just going to take that grey, drag this down so it's a bit darker, and we're going to just add that to where it joins into the body and along the bottom, like a little L shape. Okay, and we're going to do the same on this collar, except we're just going to go around the join. Okay, and we're going to do it on his ears. There we go. And we're going to take some of this medium grey. Is that medium grey? Yeah. And we're going to use that on the bottom of the dome of his ears. Okay. And we need to do something with his neck. So we're going to take some of this dark grey and put that under here where his head would join, and also down the left and round the bottom. Okay. Got a bit of a gap there. Okay, and then I'm going to take some of this dark grey and I'm going to use that on this platform here that we have on his head. Just put that on the bottom. And I think that is all the grey shading done. Oh no, we need to do some around the frames. So they are done in the lightest grey, so we're going to use the medium grey to do the shading on those. And we're just going to go around the outside of this bit here. Okay, and we're just going to finish off his antenna up here, and I'm going to take some of this medium blue and use that on the bottom here, and then I'm going to take some of this dark blue and put that on the bottom of this dome and on the left of it. There we go. And next I think we will add some shading to our buttons. So with the grate, we're going to need a darker version of this blue. So let's darken that up. And I'm just going to add some shading down the left and on the inside of the bottom. Great. Okay. And I'm going to add some colour actually to these buttons that I've put on here. So instead of shading in the white buttons with grey, because we've got a lot of grey, I am going to use a very light blue to shade those in, this one here. And I'm just going to go down the left hand side of that gauge there and along the top. Okay, and I'm also going to go down the left of the button and along the bottom. Okay, and I'm just going to do something similar around the rest of the buttons. So with the yellow button, I'm going to use this slightly darker version of that yellow and just go around the left hand side. Same with the red, I'm just going to make a darker version of that red. Not dark enough. There we go. Same with the orange. And I think that's it for shading. Anyway, we're going to go back in now with some lighter colours and add some highlights. Oh, didn't shade the antenna. Let's do that quickly. So we need a darker yellow. We need a darker orange. Okay, that's that done. So we're going to need a lighter grey to highlight all this grey. So on the arms, I think this light grey will work well. So we'll go all along the inside here and add that lighter grey. And we will do the same on the legs down this right hand side. And oh no, not on the hand, that's the same colour. And we'll do it all along the arm. And I think that's it for that colour. Might add some to this grate along the top here and the side of it. There we go. And then when it comes to this extremely light grey, I think we'll use white to highlight that. I'm not sure. Let's see what it looks like. It might be a bit too... Oh no, it's okay. You could use a very, very pale grey or white. It's entirely up to you. Just avoid using white on top of all colours just because it can get a bit bright, I suppose. So that's the hands. To do that foot. Need to do the ears. Okay. And I'm going to add some of this medium grey to the bottom of those. There's not really enough room for me to do it on here, so I'm just going to highlight the very top. And I'm going to take this light blue and I'm going to use that on here. Oh, I didn't shadow that button. There we go. And I'm also going to add some lighter colours to the buttons. When it comes to doing highlights on traditional pencil drawings, Obviously you will need to do it a bit differently because you can't put light colours over dark colours, unless of course you use something like a chalk pen or a jelly pen. It is possible to put white over different colours if you're going for mixed media. If you're not, you will just have to start with the lightest colour that you want to put down and then build up from there and add the other colours in order of darkness, basically. Okay, we're also going to need a light blue to add to these, or should we just use white? I think white will be okay in this situation. Our robot is going to be very shiny. Okay, so I think that's our robot finished. But obviously if you wanted to add some more details or change colour or anything about this drawing or have another go and just make him completely different, that's entirely up to you. I have designed these videos to be fun for all ages, you know, whether you're 8 or 80 and just trying to get into drawing or creativity again and just want to do something without any pressure that's not too complicated and just do something fun, basically put pen to paper and just do something. I also wanted to make these videos with children in mind, but also, you know, beginner adults. But my idea was that these would be fun for the entire family so that adults and children could enjoy these together, because creativity is always something fun to do with other people. I have just noticed that we never highlighted his collar, and for that we will need the medium grey. Ooh, don't want to go that far. But yeah, like I was saying, these videos are designed with no pressure in mind. These are just fun. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed my first video. I am hoping the videos will get a little bit smoother from here. And if there is anything that you would like me to draw or your children would like to see me draw, please drop them in the comments and I will read all of them and make a list of videos that I need to make. But for now, please keep practicing, please keep creating, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!